Hi everyone, welcome back to Vlogmas Day 20. We're almost on the home stretch, and today I want to share with you my favorites of 2024. I cannot pick a favorite book of the year, so I'm going to rate them on a few different categories. My most nostalgic read of 2024 was When the World Tips Over by Jandy Nelson. I haven't read any of her 2014 YA romances, but I read this for work and I fell in love with the story. It is a kaleidoscope of the best YA you can possibly imagine, and I would highly recommend if you enjoyed Jandy Nelson 10 years ago, and also if you haven't read from her before. I think you would really enjoy this story if you like those quirky 2014 YA. The best plot twist goes to A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal. I really enjoyed this twist of this book. I really wasn't expecting it, and I'm highly anticipating the second in this duology for next year. The book that stuck with me the most was La Vie de Guinevere by Paula Lafferty. This is an Arthurian retelling, and I had never read anything about King Arthur ever, and I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed not only this novel but this world, and I have an entire list of Arthurian retellings and novels for me to read next year. The objectively best book of the year has to go to Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. This book I read in one sitting. It was nominated for the Booker Prize, I think. It was nominated on the Goodreads Choice Awards, and this is one of the best books that I read this year, and it could have been solely on the first 50 pages of the book, but it just gets better and better, and all of the conversations that it brings up and all of the commentary that it does, this has to be the best book of the year, objectively. I have two books for my best romance of the year. The first one is Expiration Dates by Rebecca Searle. I knew of this book because one of our editors told us the entire plot of the book, and I remember I felt completely caught off guard when she told us the plot twist of this book, and still I went into it knowing what would happen and still falling in love with the story and falling in love with these characters and the journey that they go through. And this has to be one of the best romances of the year. The second best romance of the year has to go to At First Spite by Olivia Dade. I also read this in one sitting. It was such a comforting read, and an enemies to lovers romance would never think that I would have enjoyed as much as I did. For best romantasy, I also have two. The first has to be Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli. I talked at length about this book already on my channel, so I'm not going to bore you with it. But this was one of the best romantasies of the year, in my opinion. It is a YA enemies to lovers romantasy with witches and a witch hunter, and it completely blew me off guard because it was so popular. I could never think I would have enjoyed it half as much as I did. The second one is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. I don't think I have mentioned this book on my channel before, but I read this year and I loved it. I know some people don't like it, but it was just up my alley. The gothic ambiance to this competition inside this twisted house of mirrors with this incredibly charming love interest, and the plot twist at the end, it was just chef's kiss. I really liked this book. And the last book that I have to talk about is the most out of my comfort zone book that I read this year, which was my first Fae romantasy, which is The Divine and the Cursed by J.E. Reid. I loved this book. I really enjoyed it, and I did not think I would enjoy a Fae romantasy before this. Now I have a bunch more on my to-be-read list. My favorite movie of the year is Stay the Night, which is a 2022 release. It is an indie movie about a girl falling in love with a hockey player, and if you like hockey romance, I think you would really enjoy this movie. It is a quiet, charming romance, and bear in mind that these are not Oscar-winning actors, but I really enjoyed this one. And an honorable mention to Twisters, of course, the movie of the summer with Glenn Powell. This movie brought a bunch of new fan fiction for me to read and also a bunch of new country songs for my playlists. So I have to give it an honorable mention. These are some of my favorite songs of the year, not necessarily on my Spotify Wrapped, which you can see more in depth in one of the videos that I posted at this Vlogmas. But these are some honorable mentions that didn't make the Spotify cut. First is Too Sweet by Hosier. It is in the Spotify Wrapped, but I think I should mention it again because I loved it so much. Next is Halfway Up by The Brook and the Bluff, one of my favorite songs for the past, I think 3 years or 4 maybe. It is such a me song. Every single time I listen to the first chords of the song, it brings me so much joy. Then Here We Girl by the Backseat Lovers. I love this band. I love most of the songs that they put out, and this is one of the most famous ones, so if you haven't listened to it already, I would highly recommend. Then I have 2 of my emo songs for the year. The first is Granite by Sleep Tokens, of course, and also Diga Parte 2 by Fresno, which I would highly recommend. I put half of the song basically in one of my vlogs this year, so if you want to listen to it then, check it out. And lastly, Hypotheticals by Lake Street Dive. This is such an upbeat song. I loved listening and singing to it when I drove to work every morning. My favorite artist of the year is Noah Kahan, obviously, but I have to do some honorable mentions. The first is to Hunter Hayes. I've been following this guy since 2014, and I feel like every single new album that he puts out matches so incredibly well with the moment I'm currently living in my life that I feel like we're somehow soulmates. I love his songs, and I would highly recommend for you to check out his latest album and some of the unreleased songs that he's putting out this end of the year. Then also, again, the Backseat Lovers. They were a part of one of my favorite moments of my trip when I was in Malibu looking at a gift shops and one of their songs was playing. It was such a magical moment, and they have to be on this list because of that. And these are some of my favorites for 2024, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye!